Demetrius Williams sends us this video request for your main man, and request granted. What he wants to know about is Dungeons & Dragons and fantasy games like Dungeons & Dragons and interacting with nobles in them. Now, this is a topic that I certainly am happy to expound upon at my leisure, if you understand. So, one of the things that drives me absolutely berserk when I'm playing with people, and I way go out of my way, my absolute least favorite character concept for me to play in your game is a noble of any kind. And here's why it drives me crazy. The rest of the players, almost universally, often even good players, don't sell the fuck out of it. In a society like that, you have castes, classes, people that are your superiors. You look up to them. They are the celebrities of your day, as well as the legislators, as well as the authority, and you will respect their authority. And the blasé attitude, the contemporary idea from the perspective of most players is very poorly done. Now, I've seen some players do it well, and I will definitely, vehemently express my disgust when people no-sell that sort of thing. I have no problem in game of nobles being nobles. A noble isn't going to sit there and tolerate your foolishness. We're not talking about Thomas nobles here. We're talking about real nobles. These individuals believe themselves to be better than you. Even those that are the most lenient, liberal, weak-wristed types of aristocrats are not going to brook your foolishness when you come in there acting a fool. They're not going to do it. Into the dungeon with that ass. And that is quite a good way to deal with players. In fact, that could even be, if you have players that are prone to do that, you can even start off a campaign that way by having all the players exiled or banished, thrown in like an Evil Dead style of pit, thrown into the dungeon, into the catacombs, what have you, for their disrespecting an elder. And it can begin or for them disrespecting a noble. And that can begin very, very organically, because trust me, most players will not work that correctly. You know how little of an infraction you can make, and you really have to put yourself in that mindset. This person is here, you are down here. That's right. You're not sure how low you are, but you know you ain't showing up on the screen. That's the point I'm trying to make here. The noble is obsessed with status, and you, by your arrogance and insolence, are actually knocking away at their status. The other nobles around them are going to be challenging. They're like a snake's den. They want to see who's weak, who to be jumped upon politically. And if they're going to brook that from some foolish ass NPC, some foolish ass PC, it may well augur ill for them. What I'm trying to say is it can come down to being as simple as looking at them incorrectly, making too little or too much eye contact, making eye contact at the wrong time, not bowing correctly. And that doesn't mean that your character necessarily has to have knowledge, nobility, royalty, or diplomacy skills like that. And if you do, you damn well sure should make sure you know how to actually use them in a role-playing context. The barbarian might kind of screw some of these things up. And if he looks very barbaric, it's kind of like being retarded in school. They're going to give you a little bit of leeway. You understand? I'm not trying to be mean about this. I'm really not. I'm trying to give you a way you kind of look at it. They're going to give you a little bit more leeway than if you're not. You understand? And then if you're like gifted, they're going to give you even less, because they're like, well, you have even less reason than this normal kid over here to mess up because you're gifted, right? And the gifted is you're working with the people that are accepted, that are aristocracy themselves. So when they had that big smelly stupid barbarian, like, oh Jesus, okay. Well, if he makes an attempt, they might, depending on their mood, that might be good enough. It's like everybody kneels and he's like just standing there looking around all confused. Somebody grabs him, pulls him, like, oh, it goes down. That might slide, and it certainly, in my mind, for the most part, would be good enough. You may even get some reprimand to that barbarian, say, "Oh, you need to kneel" or whatever. You know, as long as he doesn't just like start berserking and cleaving everybody's head off, he might just be all right. Now, if you are this very courtly bard and you're going in there cracking jokes while they're trying to be serious and talk, that might be wrong for you. In the dungeon and some irons without ass. So, typically, for a noble to even condescend to speak to you directly, that's an honor for you. That's an uplifting to your social status. You should use proper forms of address. Ask your game master what they are. Typically, just a normal person might just be called Goodman. But a noble, depending on how it's organized, they have all sorts of different titles. I'm not going to go through an exhaustive list here, but you can go on to Wikipedia or pull out many different fantasy role-playing game books have exhaustive list of titles that they go by. And then, like, if you're the king, and you might not be like, hey, what's good, king? You might have to refer to him as your grace. Well, yes, your grace. And you bow and you put all that over. Look, man, if you learn how to sell and you begin to bring into your mind that selling is fun, selling can be a blast. It can make the game tremendous. And it flips on the other side. The players that aren't wanting to sell, they're going to have to start selling out because guess who just got more spotlight by selling? You did. The game master's going to start selling more for you because he's going to get with that. Everybody likes to be sold for. That's unanimous. Particularly if you have someone trying to be Billy Badass, just start selling for them. Start maybe you just, oh, you're Billy Badass? Okay, I'm going to be the paper bag man. You can just beat me and go right over. And I'm going to keep pulling it. I'm going to keep selling. I'm going to keep selling. I'm going to keep selling. And I'm going to teach that ass a lesson. And with nobility, you need to, as a game master, roll hard. Roll hard on your players. It's like trying to swim in plate mail. Don't let that shit slide. You're getting drowned if you're trying to go through that. Or trying to swim in plate mail when you don't even have the swim skill. Like, I don't have the swim skill. That was useless. I'm going to swim in plate mail. The very beginning of any game when I start playing with people, I tell them this. If you don't buy swim, which is fine. Not everyone knows how to swim in a fantasy game. It's not a YMCA. You jump in the water with plate mail. I'm not talking about a puddle. I'm talking about a river or something like that. I say, look, I'm going to drown your ass. I am going to drown your ass because I want to kill one of you fools for acting that ridiculously out of character. No one would do that. They would be like, oh, that's a good idea. If you don't know how to swim, you are afraid of water. Everyone that I've ever met that doesn't know how to swim is afraid of water. They don't go, oh, let me jump in the water. You know, I can kill you. Water is very, very dangerous. Having known someone that drowned, it's dangerous. And that is an analogy for a court of medieval style nobles. It is dangerous and they will drown you. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. Going in there, particularly when you don't have an excuse, when you have knowledge of history, when you have knowledge of nobility, royalty, when you have knowledge, or when you have diplomacy, which gives you that etiquette, those social graces and skills, you know proper forms of address. And guess what? Even without those skills, most people in the kingdom, they know a little bit. They might be saying like the wrong thing, like, yes, your lordship, it's your grace. But the king will probably not behead them for that. He probably will yell at them and maybe put a boot to them, maybe give them the male gauntlet, and rightfully so. But besides that, they're going to really command a scene that makes a lot of sense. If you go in there and you don't have any of those bells and whistles in your scene where they're meeting the prince, where they're meeting the Vizar, where they're meeting the Marquise, where they're meeting the two kick-ass dukes. I mean, how are you going to come up to two kick-ass dukes and not show proper respect? You will get your ass poisoned. That is for sure. So, when you are dealing with nobles, the key, as always, is sell.